Okay, great, right? We have the screen.
The recording has started.
Okay. Dear all, welcome to our Around the World webinar of the Marie Curie Alumni Association, managed by Communication Working Group of the association. And this part in March of 2026, the presentation, the webinar is hosted by Bridging Science and Business Working Group. And we are hosting now Knut Blind from Fraunhofer ISI. So Knut Blind is an economist specialized in standardization. And here we welcome him for his presentation, but we would like to also hear from him a little bit about himself. Knut, welcome to our presentation, and thank you very much for your accepting to be our guest in Around the World webinar today. Can you talk about a little bit yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Murat, for the invitation to talk to your Marie Curie Alumni Association, in particular about topic standardization, which is, the topic I'm working on since now more than 25 years. I'm working for Fraunhofer ISI, but I'm also a professor at the Technical University in Berlin, and having the chair of innovation economics. And I'm working on this interrelation between regulation in the wider sense, but in particular standardization and innovation and research. And today, we focus on the link between research and standardization. Next slide, please. The background is a project I'm coordinating that's EDO for standards, where the objective derived from the European standardization strategy to empower Europe via more education related to standardization in order to generate more experts for the topic. And I'm especially responsible for a pilot where we address researchers being affiliated to institutions under the umbrella of EATO, the European Association of Research and Technology Organizations. And currently, we also write a standard about education on standardization, which might maybe become at the very end kind of the world standard. And by the way, around the world today, at 7 o'clock in the morning, I gave also a presentation about this topic and to the education people in Phnom Penh in Cambodia. Therefore, I'm a little really around the world. Next slide, please. The objective is really to talk a little bit today about the interface between research and station, what are the interdependencies, and also how the two can benefit among each other, and especially also then about how your research might be integrated into standardization, and also maybe some later talk about some examples. Next slide, please. Yeah, this is a simple model, which is the outcome of an FP5 project. And here you see on the left-hand side what you are doing, research and development, and the other side of the chart is standardization. And we have a recursive kind of knowledge and transfer flow. On the one hand, you first probably think about how you bring your research to standardization, and we will talk about that. But also, we have to consider maybe how standardization and standards help to promote your research. And there are certain barriers we might also have to talk about. Next slide, please. This was a kind of conceptual idea, but what we did in the context of the European Standardization Panel, which has been launched 23, we also asked the experts in standardization, what are the inputs? And if you look at the slides at the three first bars, the inputs for standardization work is policy regulation, what the policymakers, what the regulators want. Then second, what the market wants, what's the requirement of the customer and the companies. And the third, equally important pillar is research. And therefore, we have some evidence that research is important if you talk to industry people, they don't necessarily share this view. Next slide. And to be a little bit more explicit and also coming a little bit closer to what you are doing, that means writing papers, maybe filing patents. This is a cascading model derived from a technology transfer guy called Barry Boozman, which we introduced also 15 years ago, where we say, okay, research produces knowledge. Knowledge is kind of written down and codified in publications and patents. Standardization is creating consensus and coordination, and the output are standards. And how to bring the two together. First, the standardization bodies and committees might look at publication and patents, but maybe the best way is really to join directly. Then you also bring your tacit knowledge to standardization. Next slide, please. And indeed, here is an example of a research organization in Germany about their activities. They have around 600 researchers. Yeah, most of them, or the majority, is publishing. But you see also some overlaps. Yeah? Some people publish, patent, and are involved in standardization. And in this kind of unit or in this organization, this is a significant share of 100 people being involved in standardization. But this is also a little bit part of their mission, because this organization is under the umbrella of the German Ministry of Economic Affairs. Next slide, please. We also can look at that from a company perspective, where we have a very interesting insight. Meanwhile, companies are more involved, and these are innovative companies in Germany, and this is really representative figures. They are more involved in standardization than in patenting. Therefore, if you are interested in getting contact with companies, go there. The innovative are there. Yeah? And that's another perspective from a company side. Next slide, please. Coming back to this picture, yeah? And now we are a little bit going into the problems which we might face. Next slide. That means here we collect a little bit the drivers and barriers. Yeah? Why this is an issue, and then we also kind of allocate them a little bit where we are. Are we the basic research side, or are we more kind of applied, or are we more really at the prototyping? And the most important driver for researchers to get involved is really to bring their own research results into standardization, also maybe incorporate their own interest, but also get maybe in contact with companies and other research institutions. And for companies, it's then more interesting also to use standardization as a knowledge sourcing kind of platform where you might look what others are doing. And also for companies, it's more important maybe to produce standard compliant technologies, that your technology is close to standard. Okay, these are the drivers, but there are many barriers. Standardization is costly, especially it costs time. And that's still the most important barrier. And the processes are, although they have been reduced, are quite lengthy. Then there's the issue of free rider and public good. Therefore, on standards in general, you have no authors, or no authorship, which is also a problem. And still there's some lag. People do not know how it works. Therefore, we do these kind of activities like today. And they might also not get the credentials, the acknowledgement. But we'll talk about this a little more maybe in the discussion. Next slide, please. Now, some evidence. If you really are successful in bringing your know-how into a standards, maybe by getting your paper referenced. This is an example from biotech, where you see that the citations of articles which are referenced in standards are much higher, significantly higher, and also for a longer time higher. Now, that's just biotech. Next slide, please. We expanded this analysis to all standards at ISO and their scientific references. And you see these green lines, these are the publications referenced in ISO standards, are always higher than the control group. That means these publications get more citations for a longer time of period. And that's the main message. Therefore, if you want to push your scientific impact, it's also interesting to bring your research via your publications to the standardization table, and this is going to push your citations. Next slide. And this is also true for patents. If you have patents and these patents are standard essential, that means these patents are needed or have to be considered when standards are implemented. These so-called standard essential patents have also higher citations, and these citations also last over time. The one hand is on the left-hand side, you see a slide by colleagues created quite some time ago. On the other side, on the left-hand side, right-hand side, you see more recent analysis. This pattern is still true. It depends a little bit about on the standardization body you are involved. Move up. Next slide, please. That means we can compare that, and whereas the standard essential patent process is very structured, and there's also a lot of money in it, it's also very strongly focused on ICT and especially mobile communication. Standard relevant publication you find everywhere. The process is not so structured. The impacts are also positive, but there's not necessarily a commercial interest and commercial output. But it's really from a researcher's perspective, it's an interesting additional channel, which is also creating positive synergies for your citation output. Next slide, please. Now, this is the one side of the model. That means the transfer from research to standardization. But standards might also help you during the standardization process. And again, this is work we've done 15 years ago, and our claim was, okay, at the very beginning, when new research fields emerge, you have to define what you are talking about. That means terminology or semantic standards are important. Next phase is then measurement and testing standards are becoming important. And then when you bring your technology maybe closer to the market, maybe closer to existing technological infrastructure, interfaces are relevant. That means compatibility. And if you eventually bring this stuff to the market, maybe this is not so interesting for you, then quality is also very important in order to get the trust of the customers. Next slide, please. And then the European Standardization Body took this over. Now they attribute that to the technology readiness level, which you might also know as another way to classify where you are in the process, whether you are still in knowledge development, technology development, or business development. And here again, the different types of standards play different roles. At the beginning, it's more about semantics, terminology, and then we have measurement, then we have interface, and at the end, maybe even product and service specific standards. Next slide, please. One example was nanotech, and also quite some time ago, 20 years ago, where at the beginning the issue was about how to define the different terms like nanoscale, nanoparticle, etc., and so on and on. Next slide, please. And the other problem was then to measure these things. These are just some examples how to measure particles, and also here one had to find an agreement. That's meanwhile a historical example, but if we move on to the next slide, you see that this kind of categorization when which standards plays a role can be also applied to quantum technology. That's the current roadmap regarding quantum technology standardization. And again, first it's about terminology, measurement, and then later interoperability and other topics become more important. That means this taxonomy works also for other technology, quantum technology. Next slide is on, I think, quantum computing. Similar here, certainly in the ICT field, interface standards, interoperability standards are also becoming more important, and therefore you see here a little bit different types of topics which are addressed in the roadmap of these technical committees in the next few years. Next slide, please. And they also then attribute that again to the technology readiness level. Yeah, you see that, and this can be done also for other fields of research. Next slide, please. That means this is very kind of integrated. Yeah, the different phases of research and development, and the other hand, the different types of standards you need in order to also develop your research field further. Next slide, please. It means, to summarize it, the different types of standards have positive, in general, positive impacts on research innovation. Standards provide information. They help to maybe also create critical masses at the very beginning. One historical example was the decision of the European Commission to go for the GSM standard in mobile technology, which was then creating the critical mass, and at the end was the basic requirement for the success of Ericsson and Nokia. Quality standards create trust. Compatibility standards allow network externalities, which are especially in the IT field very important. Meanwhile, standards are also considered as an insurance. That means if your research fails, you might rely on standards. This is maybe for the research perspective not so relevant. Negatively, one, if you not just one back, please. On the negative side, if you are becoming too specific, then maybe standards disclose too much, maybe also confidential information. Variety reduction is an issue, and maybe sometimes prematurely specific standards are set, and then at the end it turns out that this was not right. And the combination between standards and especially intellectual property right might also create a monopoly power, which is then bad, at least for the performance of markets. Next slide, please. What we recently have done is also putting standardization in the context of transdisciplinarity, because at the standardization table, you do not only find researchers, you also find companies and other stakeholders, and you are creating together maybe not only consensus, you might even produce new knowledge. That means so far we said, okay, there's research in the standardization, and how do you bring it from the one side to the other? But even within the standardization process, knowledge creation can take place. Next slide, please. And we have some evidence. A former PhD of mine, he looked at the work in chemistry at the French standardization bodies AFNOR. And the idea was, okay, in standardization, you create so-called knowledge networks. Yeah? And we know from research, if you work with people together which are maybe not in your bubble, yeah, a little bit more complementary, this creates innovativeness. On the other hand, if you have a brokerage position, that means you are the interface between two knowledge areas, then you are also in a very favorable position. And the claim was, okay, if you are able to really to access this complementary knowledge, then you are becoming more innovative. Next slide, please. It means the standardization allows you to get access to a diversity of knowledge, and also this brokerage function might help you. And if you go to the next slide, we find indeed that the more kind of far away the others regarding their knowledge in standardization, the higher is then the innovation output. Here we use patent applications, and also the stronger is your brokerage position by connecting different knowledge areas. The higher is the output. Yeah, and therefore we also can say that within standardization, innovation and further follow-up research will take place. Next slide, please. And indeed, what we have done recently is the following. We were surveying all the authors of these papers who were referenced in ISO standards, and the first insight was the majority of the people didn't really know about that they were cited. And that was very surprising for us. That means these people are doing knowledge transfer without knowing it. But those who were aware of that, they also kind of reported some other effect. That means when you were involved in standardization, this also pushed the implementation of the standards in your organization. It means here this was positive for the implementation. And now we are coming to these feedback loops. The first positive feedback loop was that the implementation of these standards led to follow-up research, and also to follow-up standardization activities. It means this theoretical picture is really then meanwhile confirmed by some empirical evidence, not perfect, but at least these feedback loops are there. And therefore, next slide, please. We identified 2 cycles or 3 cycles, two virtuous and one vicious cycle. That means those researchers who use standards as a source of knowledge and who also get recognition from participation in standards, they kind of experience very positive feedback loops. And the participation in standardization helps them to really implement what they have standardized in their companies. It means that this is positive, and even they report that they train colleagues and students. That means you have these positive virtuous cycles of those people who are actively involved and who know to bring in their research into standardization. However, we also realize that there are some researchers in a vicious circles. That means they do not know about that they contributed to standards. Some were really very surprised, Therefore, they also do not use standards as an input for their own research, but they also do not standardization in order to get repetition. That means here there's a potential which has been not used, and that's indeed a significant share of researchers who contribute to standards but do not really harvest and exploit these positive feedback loops. Next slide, please. Therefore, there are challenges, and first of all, it's about funding and resources, which is important, which allows the participation, but it also pushes the active engagement. That's one point. The other observation we made is the support and recognition from their own institution is important. And here I just put in brackets Quora, this impact, the broader perspective on measure the impact of research. And there are institutions which, and there are not many who recognize this. And some organizations have even a standardization strategy, some research organizations, but these are very few. And I have to admit, Fraunhofer was not able to come up with an own standardization strategy. They have an IP strategy, but no standardization strategy. And then what's also important is that there must be a cooperative kind of environment for joint standardization activities. And that's positive. On the other hand, what we also experience that people are a little bit disappointed that there are also cultural and institutional barriers between the different stakeholders. If you are coming to standardization as a researchers, depending on the technical committees, you might be confronted with a bunch of people who are very industry driven, and they are not always happy to have researchers at the table. That's an issue. Last point, or another point, is there kind of a political environment which is positive and which also then asks for more science-based standardization? That is really then helping researchers. But if there is a more kind of a strong power in the standardization committees, which is driven by commercial interest and not really interested in creating evidence-based standards, then you have a hard life. Last point, it's indeed a tension. Yeah? If you do cutting-edge scientific research and you are confronted with these very still lengthy and sometimes also conservative standardization processes. There are people who have a little bit the non-invented here syndrome. That means they are not really keen to have new insights, which is maybe challenging the work they have done the last years. Next slide. Yeah, regarding support. If you are in the ICT area, I just wanted to share 2 slides on a mentorship program, which is supporting the next generation of ICC standardization experts who are interested to get involved, especially in international standardization bodies. Next slide. The idea is this mentorship program, the mentors are coming from this network of standard ICT, and the mentees are newcomers. And if you are newcomers, please visit our homepage there. Especially, we are also interested in getting maybe more younger researchers here on board, and also women, females. That's an issue, and then you can really participate in this mentorship program, which is free. And you can apply through our Stand ICT homepage. And this mentorship program helps you to get really insight how this works, and also helps you to get maybe better networks even at the global level. And you might use then this channel for, again, transfer your research results, maybe even at the global level. Next slide, please. It means that's the way it works. Look at our Stand ICT homepage and register if you are interested, and especially if you are coming from the ICT area, you are more than welcome to get in our mentorship program as a mentee. I think that's it. Thank you. Thank you, Murat.
Thank you very much, Knut. It was a very interesting standardization presentation. I know this because I participated. You're actually like extended version of webinar series on standardization. So I know that maybe some of participants has already known. And I would like to start our conversation first with this question. So can you talk about just a little bit about your extended version of webinars on standardization and for whom he's actually been developed?
Yeah, this extended series, these are six modules lasting 1 hour, have been created as a pilot under EDU for standards. And what we did is we invited researchers who are affiliated to EATO organizations to join, but we also invited everybody else, and the idea was really to reach in a greater scale, especially younger researchers. And I think the scaling was quite okay. We had for this, we are now did it the second time, and I think for each time we had almost 2,000 registrations for the 6 events, and we have around 1,000 participations, and that's quite cool. And we will also expand that or continue this activity beyond the lifetime of EDU standards, because the lifetime is over by the end of the year, and we might do that under the umbrella of follow-up research. We are also trying to convince EATO to get a little bit more into the topic. Here, some first movements we see. They are now open maybe to discuss whether we will have also a working group on this topic. Background is that Fraunhofer has a community of people being active in standardization, around 1,000 researchers of our organization. Sounds a lot, but if you look that we have more than 30,000, then it's not so much. Therefore, we are still at the very beginning of the development, and I hope we can push that the next years further, because in the morning I attended an event in Phnom Penh virtually, and the Koreans presented what they are doing since 20 years, and they claim that their education activities have led, I don't know how they measure that, but this really pushed their presence and their contribution to international standards bodies very significantly, that they are now, I think, number 8 in the world of contributors, and before they were not in top 20. And in Europe, we have the other problem of a demographic structure, which will lead that around maybe 30% of the active standardization experts are going to retire in the next 5 years, more or less. And this is really significant.
Yeah, right.
Therefore, we have to fill the pipeline, and this is the background of this activity.
So yeah, excellent. So I think maybe we can share your contact with audience, because I believe that you're going to keep organizing this webinar series at some point, so they will be definitely interested in participating.
Who's the audience?
Sorry?
Which name you mentioned here? I just didn't get.
Audience. The audience here right now. Yeah, the people. Yeah. So, and also through Marie Curie Alumni Association, we would be happy to promote the activities, because, as you mentioned earlier, that even in publication, standardization is keep helping you to keep assisting the researchers for the impact of the research, right? So I just want to make a brief explanation about what do we mean in standardization, as like now we have mobile phones, like we have a standard cable types to charge it, right? Or electric plugs, or you have electric car, and whenever you go any station that you can charge, because they use the same type of chargers and etc. So these are all, as like a simple term, is called standardization. So, and for research, how we can talk about it, Knut, so like how it would help for researchers to use these standardization terms in their research that would help them in the end, for example, a market-oriented research, a product, or when I say product, it could be publications or patent, even a project proposal. I think it's important. Well, how would you say that?
Yeah, as explained, with your scientific publications, you want to address the scientific community. That's fair, and that's still fine. But for especially if you are more closer or getting closer to the applied side, then maybe another audience of your research is maybe industry. And standardization could really bridge a little bit this gap, between your research identity and those on the other side of the table. That means the industry representatives. And in standardization, you have a platform to exchange views, and therefore we try to sell or establish it as a transdisciplinary process where you create maybe consensus, and not only consensus, you might even create new insights, new knowledge in the standardization process together with industry, with companies. And this is then, on the one hand, an exchange of knowledge, of perspectives, because then you might know better what industry wants, what they need. But it's also maybe a trust-building activity. It's like writing together a paper. And then you have to develop some trust in your co-authors, and that's maybe then a step for follow-up collaboration. Writing maybe together research proposals where you need companies as a partner, and that's what we also heard. What we experience of those who are really into this topic, that they say we use this as an additional complementary channel, and if you have patents, and especially if you have patents in the IT world, then you might even be able to commercialize then these patents by allocate them around a standard, although this was not so easy, and it requires a very strategic approach where you have to maybe invest 5 to 10 years in order then to see the benefits. Therefore, it's not a quick win. It has to be strategic. But those, what we see is those who are involved, they stay involved.
So as I understand it, it's a very strategic point. There, maybe institutions should also consider standardization to help their researchers into it. As you remember, that we have been invited the MCAA feedback policy on standardization in last year, organized by Thierry and Paul Killen in MCAA conference. So what do you think about currently the Commission's approach on standardization in research? Because that was a kind of nice activity.
Well, on the one hand, there's this code of practice, which guides research institutes or institutions how to address the topic, which guides the researchers, research projects, and also individual researchers. Therefore, I think that's a good starting point. And the other activity is this HS booster service, which is going to be continued sometime this year, which kind of helps researchers really in practical terms, also in developing maybe standards out of their research projects, and this. Therefore, I think this is a big advantage of Europe to have the framework program and also these support opportunities. And in Germany, we have a specific program called VIPANO, Knowledge Transfer via Patents and Standards. And here there's even funding you can get in order to transform or to develop your research results further to a standard, and at best to an international standard, which is time consuming and also a little bit a lengthy process.
Yes, I can imagine. Thank you very much. So let's move on the audience. Maybe we will have a few questions from the audience, and then I have a few more questions to continue. So Paul Killen have a question. Could we get a copy of slides of presentation?
Sure, I will send you the final PDF. Unfortunately, I had some technical issues. I just didn't get it right.
Okay, great. So we will share with the audience with your permission. Any other questions from the audience? You can raise your hand or text. We would be happy to direct to Professor Knut. And while you are thinking your question, I want to have one. So, any recommendations for example, for the Marie Curie fellows, or who would like to continue in their research, how to include standardization in their career development plan? And because we know that there is a huge move from academia to industry, and how the standardization would serve as transferable skills that make researcher more attractive for non-academic employers like SMEs, like large industries. Do you think?
Good. I think what's also common practice is if you're really getting involved in standardization, you might meet your future employer from industry. And I know that people then got hired because, again, coming back to this trust building process, that means if you write together a standard and the industry co-authors realize, okay, what you are able to do, and then the information asymmetry is more or less then gone, because you have a working relationship. And what they are also often interested in, they are buying your network. And that means if you are then connected to many researchers and other stakeholders, NGOs, but also government, because the regulators, as I showed on in one slide, the policymakers, the regulators are important drivers for standardization, and some companies also then kind of are interested in you, because you might also maybe know the government representatives who are involved in standardization on the one hand, but who are maybe also drafting future regulations. Just one example, I have a postdoc, and she's into bioeconomy, and she's coordinating a large Horizon project where it's about certifications regarding sustainability in a specific sector. And we had just a press release about that we are going to coordinate this project. And then what happened is we got several emails and phone calls from industry associations and companies who are quite keen to get involved, because what they expect is that maybe the outcome of this work might have some influence on the future regulatory framework, and that's
Right.
that's an additional interesting link. If you are interested in doing this, and then this is a topic. The other topic is what I at least know from people in the IT field. That means top researchers who have a lot of IEEE publications. They are also often very active in the IEEE standardization committees, like on Wi-Fi. That's yeah. Oh, thanks, Paul, for this question. Yeah, Koala, I'm in contact with them, but so far Koala didn't take this topic up. I'm not sure whether, because I met, or I know the national representatives, and also our TU vice president was active at the Technical University, but so far nothing happened. But indeed, Kuara should consider this topic, and we are trying to push it again. But currently, I'm not sure where this initiative stands. And if somebody has interesting contacts to talk to, please let me know. But because again, here it would be good to expand that. And just one other German-specific observation is that the big research society, that means Max Planck, Leibniz, Helmholtz, and Fraunhofer, they have a new KPI agreed with the research ministries at the both federal but also at the regional level. That means they do not only report number of patents, number of startups. No, they also report the number of engagements in different technical committees in standardization. That means the organization report that. And what's also very interesting is from Austria, the Austrian Ministry of Research. I'm not sure whether this is finalized, but they discuss a new law and a new reporting kind of list of indicators which are relevant for the universities in Austria. And what is likely to happen is that they will also ask for, are you active, or is your university active in technical committees? means we are seeing some developments, but it's slowly. You need a lot of patience.
Yeah, that's true. And Paul actually raised a very important question. And I have a follow-up question regarding it was related to Quora, kind of like an institutional approach. And I would like to ask in terms of like the code of practice, because the commission recommend on the code of practice on standardization. So what is the importance of this recommendation for researchers and EU-funded programs? And Paul is also here. Maybe it would be nice to have like a interesting conversation. Welcome, Paul, here.
Hi, Murat and Knut. Yes, I mean, the Commission through DG Research and DG Connect, which I'm part of, DG Connect, are very keen to get the research world to engage more in standards as a knowledge transfer channel. As Knut said, there was a code of practice developed to try and encourage researchers and institutions to develop standardization strategy, to integrate standards as part of the whole knowledge transfer impact part of research. So I suppose we can only do a certain amount, so we put things out there and encourage. That's why I was asking about Quora. Has anything happened there? Have they taken that up in terms of trying to encourage researchers to engage in standards and to measure that for career recognition? So it's I suppose the Commission can do a certain amount, but the other stakeholders have to do something as well. And I was also interested to hear from Knut that I think it would be good if EARTO, Knut, could do something on standardization too as a group. And if there's something we can help with at the right time, if you want to invite a meeting between EARTO and DGRTD and Connect and Grow maybe. But
thanks for the offer. We look Raul, who's the head at our headquarter on standardization, and myself, we are trying to get something moving, and maybe we can report soon back, and then it makes certainly sense to get connected to you, but I have to wait for some green light.
Sure. But yeah, I mean, from the Connect and Commission side, we were very obviously interested in getting this more on the table and getting more research involved. Also good to see your slides, Knut, about the impact on citations of when researchers have publications in bibliography. That kind of information could be useful to get out there more, you know.
Okay. But maybe one request to you, Paul. There will be the revision of the 1025, and there are the so-called Annex 3 organizations, and at least once research should be mentioned, because so far it's not mentioned at all in the current version of the regulation, and this would at least be a signal, maybe a weak one, but it should be there as another stakeholder group which should play a role. And if you have seen my slides on what is the input from the different sources, research is a significant input for research, and therefore they should be named this group in the 1025 regulation.
Yeah, thanks for the input there, Knut. We're in discussions about how and where to reference. I suppose that annex is more about groups who get funding to help them participate, which are, let's say, civil society organizations, whereas researchers can use research funding. It's eligible. They can engage in standards and put that engagement within their funding when they're making a proposal. So it's eligible as a cost. When you do research, you can put in costs to engage in standards, as part of your grant and your proposal. So yeah, it's a bit of a different thing, but yeah, we're just talk about, we'll try and reference as much as we can. There will be some references to research, but in the regulation itself, I'm not too sure how that'll pan out. But yeah. But there is the Innovation Act coming up as well, so it'll be good for AORTO and maybe the Marie Curie Association to put into. I don't know if the public consultation is still open on the Innovation Act, but maybe if you know people, I know Murat, people in DG Education,
right.
People in RTD, DG RTD are leading the Innovation Act. So it'd be great if people like yourselves, put in a proposal, propose that something is said in the Innovation Act about this topic.
I just wanted to answer this last question from Samuel. Yeah, I think here indeed H-Booster or STAND-ICT, there are kind of mechanisms to support people to provide funding and guidance how to get involved, and also at the national level. Some countries have significant efforts, Spain, France, not talking about Germany, to help those who are interested to get in.
Yeah, and STAND-ICT exactly is funded by the Commission, and it's exactly that, to help people participate, fund their participation. It's used quite a bit by some researchers, but we'd like to get the word out more about STAND-ICT on the digital side. And Booster then, as Knut said, is broader. It's not just ICT. Mm-hmm. So the word, please spread the word, Murat, and through your networks. Yeah.
Right. Thankful for participating. As we agree on that, we need to create the awareness of the standardization in the research, right? The impact of standardization in research. I think Knut individually, with also through the EU for Standards project, and organizing this standards, the webinar series on standardization, I think has already been creating the awareness among researchers and institutions. But I think also there is institutional level and also European level that we need to improve this through webinars, through events, through trainings, to inform institutions that how standardization important in their research proposals, in their projects, and then that would be the way, I think, how to create that impact in general, only in all Europe.
What we did with the German representative of this group, IGLU, the national contact points. Here we had an event, and we want to push that, and maybe also at this European level. But what I in order to close now, from my perspective, what I would suggest is indeed maybe also to have another webinar with the people who run the mentorship program of STAND-ICT, and also the future H-Booster, which is coming soon, to be organized, and I don't know, early summer or then after the summer break. That's from my side. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. It was really informing and great information that you shared with us, the importance of standardization and research. I think we'll continue this discussions in webinars, in maybe organizing like stakeholder events, and we will be happy to actually receive the information about your standardization webinar series. I think many researchers, young and senior researchers, would be very much interested in.
I will inform you about the next series as soon as possible.
Thank you very much. And we will be in touch, because the Marie Curie Alumni Association will be happy to assist for the webinars. And for the audience, thank you very much for participating and for this Friday afternoon, and wish you happy weekends, and see you in another Marie Curie Alumni Association Around the World webinar series.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.